You're gonna hate this answer, but you just got to be consistent. You know, everyone wants the now, which is great, but that person that stays the strongest for the longest is the one who wins. So I put it on.
Wow.
And it was a huge success. You know, a lot of the time people sort of have that hardships from childhood, which makes them the person that they are.
Yes.
I didn't have any sort of pain or anything like that. So I'm quite fortunate to have that, because I think probably most people don't have that. But I also believe that might have put me at somewhat of a disadvantage for getting to where I'm trying to get to, because I didn't have any pain in order to grow into someone that I'm trying to be. So in order to do that, I had to put my own self through my own hardships to feel that own pain that would drive me into something else. You know what I mean? So
how did that look like?
it was more of physical, if anything.
Okay.
Because, you know, from a young age, I was always into sports and fitness and things like that. And I'd say putting myself through own pain, I used to play football, and I started football when I was like 6 years old, but the minimum age was like 9. So you had to be under 9. So I played up like 2 years.
Okay.
And so when I played up 2 years, I used to get smashed because I was so young and so small.
Yes.
Like I used to get smashed, but I never gave up, and I just kept pushing. And so that kind of, every time I'd like go to play, I'd get smashed every time, and it would hurt, right? And it would like put me down, but I'd constantly want to challenge myself to get better. And then kind of when I got to the right age limit, I was like the captain of the team because I'd had the experience that the others hadn't. However, in that team, we'd get smashed by 200 points every game.
Wow.
And I was like the defender, okay? So I'd watch the ball go over my head like, you know, that many times, 50 times a game.
Yes.
And it was demoralizing.
What inspired you to confront and attack that pain at such a young age? You're saying you had very stable upbringing, brilliant, and then something in your mind said, this is too stable for me. I need pain
more
to strengthen my character.
Yeah, definitely.
Where did that come from?
I don't know, but I think it sort of happens probably organically because, like I said, if I was on that football team and we were getting smashed every game by 200 points, that created a sort of pain and a drive inside of me. And there was times where I just thought I could do what all my friends did and go and join a winning team. I could just leave that team and go and join a winning team, but I knew that I wouldn't feel within myself right by doing that.
Oh, okay.
So I just persevered, and I just stuck it out for like 2 years. Every game would get smashed. It would hurt. I'd go away. I'd train harder. I'd work harder. But this was like, you're not conscious of that time of what you're doing because you're so young. But then looking back on it, it's sort of, that's what's got me through everything where I'm getting to, is having that pain of constantly losing and then using that and channeling that energy into trying to turn it all around. Because like, I always say to people like, you know, in the fitness and things like that, and I'm just like, they're like, how do I get to where I need to be? I'm like, look, you're going to hate this answer, but you just got to be consistent. You know, everyone wants the now, which is great, but that person that stays the strongest for the longest is the one who wins.
Marathon mindset.
It is, man. And, you know, by the time, you know, like going back to that football thing, I ended up starting playing basketball, and I got into the basketball. And so through all my childhood, I was constantly on losing teams, constantly. But we got better, and I got better, and I got stronger. I was never the most talented, but I always knew how to get the best out of people. And I ended up playing basketball, and in like I think it was under 18s we got to, that was the first year where I was put into a team, and we were pretty dysfunctional. None of us knew each other and things like that. But I feel like I was like a cornerstone of bringing everyone together in that team. And we ended up doing what everyone said we couldn't. We won the championship that year.
Beautiful.
And we literally pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. And we went to every training. I was the first one there, last one to leave. But I know that I really wanted to win that year, win that championship, because I knew the whole time previously in my life, I'd constantly lost. I'd never felt the feeling of actually winning, and it would kill me. It would make me so mad, right? So all like my teenage years, all my childhood, it was just losing teams. But we got a little bit better. You know, you don't necessarily get better from winning. You know, I think you get better from losing.
Yeah.
As long as you just have that instinct, that killer instinct to just never quit and never give up. And eventually you'll get there. Now, the championship we won, it wasn't like it was like a national, like professional level title, but those lessons taught from losing so much taught me the lessons on how to win. And I've literally used that formula for everything that I've done. But I don't just speak it, like I've done it and I've lived it. And so it's like people sort of feed that off me. Because I get a lot of people that will come to me, because obviously I do the fitness coaching, right? And I've done that for many years at a really high level. Like I'm not one of these guys that's like, oh, I'm just an online coach all of a sudden. Like I've been doing this before it was even popular on social media. And so I built up a huge name for myself in that. And, you know, a lot of it was the mindset side of things, because people sort of like, anyone can get a training plan and a diet plan, and there is like levels too, like there is advanced levels to it, but they're all going to work in a sense as long as you stick to it. But it's the mind that's going to take you to the furthest levels, and you've got to have that sort of pain towards it in order to try and get there. So I think in everything that I've done, I've never just joined a winning team. I've never joined someone who's at the top. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever had the opportunity to join it, because I've never been skillfully good enough.
Okay.
And that's okay for me.
Yeah.
Because I've overtaken people. Like, for example, I did my first ever bodybuilding competition in 2013. And there was 30 guys in my class, right? And I came dead last. You know, I came dead last out of 30 guys. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed myself. But it also took me back to my childhood when I was like, this is when I was getting smashed, and I just got smashed. And what did I do in my childhood to turn that around? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that, I'm going to talk to the judges, I'm going to say, what do I have to do to win? And they pretty much said, you need to do everything. Like, you suck, right? But they were right? So I thought, okay, I'm going to listen to that. So I went away. 3 years later, did a couple of shows in between, but 3 years later, I came back to the exact same show and I won it. And I'd beat people that had previously beaten me, who actually like used to laugh at me a bit, like, oh, look, this guy, what's he doing here? But I had that hunger. So it's like losing taught me how to win more than anything. And that's sort of what I take forward with people. It's like when someone says like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I lost, I'm like, good. Like, it just like fires me up. I'm like, that is the most powerful position you can be in.
Yes.
You know, so that's sort of what really propelled me through everything. And I say, from going back to your question about my childhood, like I said, really good childhood, but I had to put myself through enough pain in order to get me motivated to what I do. So now, anytime I'm sort of, let's say, in a losing position, I fucking love it, man. I don't mean to curse, but I love it, because it's like, I know how to turn this around.
That's a very rare mindset. How do you sort of like implement that with other people? How can you inspire people to have that attitude with obstacles and struggles?
I tell them. I just tell them my exact story. Like, I'm very personable. I'm personable with people that need it. You know what I mean? I don't open up to everyone and anyone. Like, I open up to people that I trust and like. But it's like, if I have someone that comes to me like a client and they're like, here's where I'm at and here's where I want to get to. I'm like, okay, well, do you feel enough pain where you are now? Most of them don't.
No.
They don't. They're happy. They're okay being a bit fat, or being a pothead, or being a porn addict. Most people won't admit it. But these are like the worst things, man. Like the worst. And it's like, if you can just shake those things, but they're comfort things, right? So they don't have enough pain towards it. Like, you've got to have pain towards where you're trying to get to, you know? And don't get me wrong, it hasn't always just been like smooth sailing all the way through. Like, I'm 35, I've lived some quite life experience. So there's been like ups and downs, and there's been low points, and there's been things like that. And it's like, you got to get through that. But your question is like, how to get through that? I just explained my story. And we might not be in the same industry, but it's still the same formula. Like, you got to feel enough pain from where you're at in order to get to where you say you want to be. And everyone talks about saying like, oh, I want to be the best in the world at this. But then you look at their actions and like, no, you don't. Like, and I think that's another thing is like, you know, if you want to get to where you want to be, you have to do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And you have to be the person you say you are. Regardless
of your emotions or
what
day it is.
Yeah, your emotions, like, that's just like, that's beginner shit. No, it is. It's like, that's basic, man. If like, don't get me wrong, like I've had times where I've fallen back into that trap and I've been, you know, emotional when I shouldn't. But like, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, well, this is where I'm at and this is